Hello, my viewers. It's good to be with you again. My name is Effanga Bassey. I remain your host on Safety Moment. And today, our topic is occupational diseases. That's the topic. We're going to look at occupational diseases. According to the protocol of 2002 to Occupational Safety and Health Convention 1981, number 155, the term occupational disease covers any disease contracted as a result of an exposure to risk factors arising from work activity. Now, for every work activity, there are risks, and every worker at every kind of occupation you can think of is exposed to risks in that environment. And there are two categories of exposure in risks. We have the acute exposure and we have the chronic exposure. Now, some disease could happen as a result of acute exposure. Acute exposure implies that the impact of the hazard is felt immediately. The workers encounter has encounter with the hazard. While on the other hand, the chronic exposure means that the impact is felt after some days, okay, or some months or some years of interaction with work activity, work environment, work equipment, and then the worker is now beginning to feel the effect, okay, of the exposure to those work substances now or processes. So I'm going to rely on International Labour Organization as well as World Health Organization. International Labour Organization as well as World Health Organization define health as a state of physical, social, and mental well-being, and not merely what the absence of illness or disease. Okay, so for every occupation, like I said, the workers are exposed to what? To risks, and the consequences of risks is what? One of the consequences of risks is illness, diseases. Okay, and that is what we aim to address in this presentation. So I'm just going to guide also some of our safety persons as well as some employers on what and what constitute occupational disease in line with the provision from International Labour Organization. Now, because we have a situation where some companies are dragging with their employees, okay, on what to pay compensation, or most times you visit some organization, you discover that there is no provision for health facility for the workers, and if you ask them, they say it is monetized. So which implies that the workers, your salary, everything is inside there, so you take care of your health. So the company don't want to take responsibility for the health of their workers, but it's dangerous because it could have a serious consequence on such a organization. Health concern is not just the responsibility of the worker, but is honestly the responsibility of the employer. Now, International Labour Organization and World Health Organization came up with four categories of what they call occupational disease. Okay, and that is what should guide you on what and what should constitute occupational disease so that you know where and where to how to respond when your workers complain of being infected or exposed to this kind of disease at work. So we have a list of occupational diseases, and one of the categories was occupational disease caused by exposure to agents arising from work. Agents such as chemical agents. Okay, so we have a lot of chemical compounds. If you're dealing with chemicals, there are a lot of chemical compounds outlined by the International Labour Organization like beryllium, cadmium, phosphorus, chlorine, fluorine, There are so many of them. So one of it is what agents of chemical agent, exposure to chemical agents. Any kind of illness, disease arising from exposure to chemical agent is considered to be occupational disease. So that's the first category. Still under the first category, we have also exposure to biological agents. Okay, disease, those exposed to some biological agents at work, and those biological agents could cause some illness like hepatitis, viruses, brucellosis, tetanus. There are so many of them. Also, anthrax. Okay, it's also considered by the provision in International Labour Organization handbook. It is considered to be what occupational health disease. We also have some physical agents. Physical agent like hearing impairment caused by noise, vibration, which could cause disorders of the muscle, or what we call musculoskeletal disorder, disease caused by compressor and the rest, exposure to extreme temperature. These are all physical agents, so they are all considered to be what uh, occupational disease. And then the second category is occupational disease by target organ. Remember, the first one was by what? Exposure to agents. Okay, now some chemical agents that you're handling, some chemical in work environment that your workers are exposed to. Okay, so when they encounter with those, so it is considered to be occupational disease. So now we also have the second category, which is occupational disease caused by target organ systems. Organ systems like the head, the brain, as in the respiratory systems, circulatory systems are all part of the organ system. For instance, respiratory diseases arising from exposure to what? Some work agents in your environment, the work environment is considered to be what? Occupational disease. Pneumoconiasis is also example. There are bronchitis. There are very many also under this. We also have skin disease still under the target organs. So we have the skin disease like allergic, those that have contact with some substance and they are allergic, dermatitis, they fall under this, irritant contact. Okay, they are all also part of what is considered to be occupational disease under the category of what target organ. We have musculoskeletal disorders, like we talked and mentioned earlier. So musculoskeletal disorder is also another example of diseases, okay, that falls under our target organ. We have the mental and behavioral disorder. It could be like post traumatic stress disorder, another mental behavioral also that we can. There are people that, maybe work in a place over some time, like some military people. I know some people that maybe they said due to some kind of injection or the training after some years of service, you see them, they start having some mental problem. So it's also considered to be what? Occupational disease. Number three is occupational cancer. Exposure to some substances like asbestos at work could cause cancer, those substances that are cancerous. Okay, even some hydrocarbon substances are also considered to be cancerous. So exposure to such substance and disease arising from such exposure is considered to be what? Occupational disease. And that's number three category, which is occupational cancer. And there's various substances: nickel compound, wood dust, arsenic, beryllium, cadmium, ethylene oxide, so many also fall under these categories. And even hepatitis B virus and hepatitis C virus. Okay, I think the medical expert will also help to explain more on this, because most times we were believing that this is a public health issue. And okay, so yeah, that's another point. So people need to understand that. And then we also have number four categories, what we call other disease. So there are four categories, and the last one is other diseases like minus nystagmus. They fall under that category. And other specific disease caused by occupational or processes not mentioned in this list, where a direct link is established scientifically or determined by method appropriate to national conditions and practice between the exposure arising from work activity and the disease contracted by the work or by the workers. You see, this is very important point that every workers or employer should note, that for every work detail by you for your worker. You bear the responsibility for their safety. And if anything goes wrong, if there are fatality, it is your responsibility. If there are exposure to sickness and disease, it's your responsibility. So there's no point dragging in courts over issue of compensation claim or responsibility. So you need to understand that there are provisions, and why this is mentioned is so that, yeah, you ensure that adequate protection is given to your workers, adequate orientation and training is given to your workers in order to prevent exposure to this disease. Now, why I also to bring up this is because, most times most employers get confused between the difference between public health diseases and occupational diseases. So basically, this is the composite, or the what we could consider the types of disease that falls under what occupational disease. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for being part of this presentation, and I urge you to make some comments on the comment section, like the video, share the video, also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check me also on my TikTok channel at Kent for Real. You can also find me on Facebook, Effanga Bassey, stroke health and safety, also on Facebook. So thank you so much for taking time to be part of this presentation. Thank you.